It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. All right, everyone, it's Friday and it's time for our Agile Not So Agile episode of the Daily Stand Up. Today, I thought it'd be a good idea to share with you something that's been near and dear to my heart recently. A lot of people ask me, they say, Lee, you have a knack for being influential, whether it's influencing people to be better, whether it's influencing people to make a decision, whether it's just influencing people to do what's right. And they ask me, what are some of the hints? What are some of the techniques that you use when you influence people or when you're talking to people? And I want to emphasize here that these techniques are intended to be used in a positive way and not in a manipulative way. So I'm going to share with you the three different techniques, if you will, that I feel are best for helping influence people to do good things. So, starting at number one, this one works with most people. This is just simply called a logical appeal. So, this is thinking with your head, right? So, logical appeal taps into people's rational and intellectual position. So, if you present an argument for the best choice of action based on an organizational benefit, a personal belief, something that is driving greater value for the individual, for the organization, or both, it becomes appealing to people's minds, and it's something that they'll want to run with. It's something that they'll say, yes, that's a good idea, let's do it. So the first one is the most obvious. I'm just going to call it Captain Obvious, or the logical appeal. So the second one is probably one of my favorites. The second one is the one that I probably use the most often. The second one is called the emotional appeal. Now, for me, sometimes the logical appeal just doesn't add up. So it doesn't matter how often I try to look at it or what's going on. It just doesn't make sense. There's something there or something not there that needs to be there. So emotional appeal connects your message or your goal to someone's personal goals and values. So it forces them to think again about what their decision is and how it'll impact the well-being of a service or a sense of belonging. It's one of those things that tugs at your heartstrings and just kind of says, hey, do the right thing. And I think that that's an incredibly important thing to acknowledge, because oftentimes we don't do the right thing, or at least we try to do the right thing and we wind up in a kerbuckle because of it. So it's one of those things where we need to understand that the emotional appeal has a good chance of gaining support, but we need to also relate and say, okay, it's important for us to figure out a way to not overuse or abuse the emotional appeal, right? And then the last one is the cooperative appeal. Now, the cooperative appeal is interesting because this is collaboration. What can you do together? Consultation. What ideas do other people have that can add value to your idea? And alliances. Who already supports your idea that has the credibility you need to push your idea through? So when you work together to accomplish a mutually important decision, it's like having more than one set of hands to get the job done. So when leaders come in and they try to influence people, and these same techniques work in influencing your children to do better things, influencing a spouse in a marriage, influencing good behavior from people in general. I mean, these are pretty straightforward techniques. So with that being said, I think it's important for us to regain focus and to understand where we sit so that we can successfully balance and use these in a way that's going to help us and our organizations do what's best. So that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's short and sweet today. Remember, logical appeal, emotional appeal, cooperative appeal, no matter what you do, appeal to do the right thing. Until next week, I want to remind you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. And don't forget, when you're doing influencing, use it for the positive. As always, until next time, do take care.